Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining me. Derek Lane, your host for the podcast, The Fast Lane, Podcast for Success. Thanks for joining me. Listen, wanted to talk a little bit about your success in life and what it really means. There's different areas and different developments when it comes to success. One of the main frames of success is freedom. That's why we strive for success. That's why we strive for a higher earning, more money. Things go hand in hand, with relationships and your career. It all comes down to really freedom. That's what we want in life, is freedom. So we're not under the thumb of someone else, of totalitarian. I can't even say the word, but it's working for someone else. If you enjoy the work you do, then it doesn't matter. You are free. If you hate the work you do, you're not free. You need to feel freedom in your everyday life. If you hate getting up at 6 a.m. to go to a job, that's not freedom. If you hate the place you're at, the space you're in, that's not freedom. Hell, if you hate the car you drive, that's not freedom. So how do we achieve freedom? How do we accomplish freedom in order to call ourselves successful? Well, there's so many avenues and so many roads to do that. Number one, freedom is being a leader. You can work for a company and be a leader and feel freedom. You may thrive on saying, I need to get up at 6 a.m. so I can go teach others and lead others. There's freedom in that. You may feel the need to expand your horizon in order to be a leader, in order to experience freedom. Freedom is just a fundamental element of your life that you need to exhibit, or you need to live or experience. That is the basis of success, is that we're free. Freedom of speech, freedom of economy, freedom to explore without being judged. We all want and strive for freedom. Also, the very idea of being hampered by your work, the stress and the demands of your work, is retarding your freedom. So when you feel that you've got a dynamic that's going in one direction and you're not able to creatively explore other avenues, then your freedom is being squelched. So always understand that in all your endeavors, leave an avenue, leave a road for freedom, leave a road for that exercise of what if, maybe, how come. All of these things exemplify freedom. And when you start to just put that in your brain, to keep your brain afloat with the idea that freedom and avenues of openness, you will always have that. When you close off roads and avenues, you begin to shut down the freedom mechanism. And that's what makes your life feel so closed in. Having an open window and possibilities is freedom. You can live by the rules of society, but still understand that you are a free thinking, free person. So I guess in a lot of ways, when you think about freedom, you think about your vision. You think about what the possibilities are, your limitations. So there are some benefits of having a vision and having a mission statement and having the characteristics and traits of one that thinks outside of the box. Trust is also an element. When you trust others to do their job, it frees you up. When you learn to delegate, when you learn to give power to others, that increases your freedom. When you implement a structure one of a hierarchy that you're able to give freedom to yourself. When you have a desire to never stop improving, but you trust the team around you, the people around you, the system in place, you start earning freedom. And that's so important to you. It's so important to your psychology that you have a freedom mechanism, that you are freedom. And also remember that the things that you do, you just can't go free willy-nilly into things and saying, hey, I got this, I'm free, I'm whatever. Sometimes you got to pay your dues. Sometimes you have to pay your dues in order to have others see and trust the value that you place in a project, in others, and in yourself to be able to experience that freedom. Knowledge is freedom. I know we've heard that and it sounds a little like, okay, I get that. It's a little cliche. But it really is. Knowledge is freedom. Once you start to understand who you are, your projects, your workforce, your coworkers, the people around you, your mission, that knowledge becomes freedom. The biggest thing that you can do for yourself, and the biggest lesson in this podcast that I can share with you right now in regards to freedom, is to know thyself. What are you about? What are you truly about? What is your true agenda? What are you trying to achieve? What is your mark you intend to leave on this earth? Once you discover that, freedom abounds. You open up so many avenues. You open up so many possibilities by understanding yourself and who you are, giving others the courage and the creative necessity to build around you, around themselves, is freedom. You were meant to be free. You were born free. Oh, that's a corny song, but you really were. You were born free. You only entrap yourself by the limited thinking that you have and by the society that we've adopted and the way that we are supposed to do things. You go to school being entrapped. You work at a job being entrapped. But once you start to understand who you are, you can step outside of that. When you are successful and you can go where you want, when you want, however you want, that's freedom. When you get a creative idea and you're able to implement that creative idea, that is freedom. When you share with like-minded folks the embodiment of creativity and visions, you are free. Be free, my friends, because that is truly success. I've known people that were rich, wealthy, millionaires that were miserable because their mind and their soul were so consumed upon one thing, money, they forgot all of the other things in success. Success isn't just money. No, I'm not advocating to not have it, because that's a large part of freedom, is to earn enough where you can be free and explore who you are. But it's not the only thing. Don't get trapped by some of the hidden societal cells, if you will, lack of better words. Just don't get trapped. Don't get trapped into being forced into thinking the same way someone else does. Forced into thinking and doing the same thing that somebody else does, because that's the way you've been taught and that's the way you've been trained. That's the way that the world expects you to be. And you do not have to be that way. Eccentric or not, you do not have to be any way, shape, or form the way that anybody else is. Okay, so I kind of did a little preachy thing here on this podcast, and it's kind of a short podcast, so I hope you'll forgive me with that. I just felt compelled this day to talk about freedom, the freedom of mind, the freedom of choice, the freedom of will, the freedom of spirit, everything that freedom represents to you. Conquer it, be it, live it, do what you do to be happy. Freedom brings you happiness. Happiness brings you freedom. It's a different life when you're happy and free. Very different life. So, with that, thanks again for tuning in to today's a little shorter than normal podcast, but I enjoyed doing this and enjoyed kind of harping on the message of freedom. So thank you very much for listening. Subscribe to my podcast. Shoot me an email, Derek@FastlanePodcast.com. Derek@FastlanePodcast.com. iTunes, iHeart, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever. It's all out there. And like and share. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate feedback. Give me feedback. I love it. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.